All right. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 217. That's a big number. As we just kind of just plug these along here of season 5. Welcome. My name is Mark Summers. I'm the founding president of AIM. Today, very excited. Everyone knows this guy is very active on social media. He does a lot of great things for the community. He works for Edge Home Finance, who Tom Ollie's is, one of the best guys out there that I know. But today, we have a loan officer from Edge Home Finance, Carlos Scarpero. Carlos, thanks for joining us. I'm tongue-tied today.
Oh, thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, we just saw you at UWM Live. You looked good. I thought it was a great event. But we're going to be talking about you today. Okay. So if you can do us all a quick favor and tell us how you got started in this industry, your history, how long you've been in it.
Okay. I'll give you a very quick background or we'll be here 45 minutes talking about that. So I got in this industry in 1997, believe it or not. And the way I got in was my little brother, Tony. He's also in the business. He got in first. I'm working at a bank making no money. He gets his job at a mortgage broker shop. All of a sudden, he starts making big money. And I say that in air quotes. Back then, which was like 65 grand a year. But compared to me making $8 an hour at a bank, that sounded like 10 bucks. It could have been 10 million bucks at that point. And I said, if this knucklehead can do it, I can do it. So one day I'm like, how do I get in this business? And long story short, we ended up at the same company. I was in the Cincinnati branch. He was in the Dayton branch. I did that for about a year. It was back in the good old days when, we'd give loans to pretty much anybody with balls.
I called it the Wild Wild West days. You didn't
Wild Wild West. It was definitely Wild Wild West days. And for those of you who've been around a while, that those were some crazy times. And I miss that sometimes because basically I just show up in the office, they'd hand you leads and you would call the leads. But unfortunately, the company I was at, it was very much, a situation where they were like, oh, well, you didn't close this many deals, blah, blah, blah. And after a year, they fired me, believe it or not, because I was too honest. I would not do shady deals. Sometimes there'd be these crazy, it was all cash out refis. And so there were some really like shady ones. I was like, I am not doing this deal. There's no money in this. There's no savings to the borrower. There's money for us, but there's no savings to the borrower. And so long story short, they fired me after a year because I didn't make quota, whatever. And I got out of the industry completely. And I decided I'm going to be a web designer. And so I learned web design, learned internet marketing, and did all kind of internet stuff for about 20 years. Fast forward to 2017, my brother never left the business, and all of a sudden he starts reading these marketing books. And I said, "Oh my gosh, why are you reading these marketing books? This is my area of expertise." And he said, "Well, there's this thing called the internet, there's this thing called social media, and I want to learn this stuff." And I said, this is interesting. And this presented an opportunity for me as an internet guy to possibly get back in the business. Now that things have changed and there's more regulation, it's not quite as crazy. Obviously not. There's obviously still weird stuff going on and stuff we don't like going on, but it's certainly better than it was. And so long story short, at the end of 17, I got back in the industry, worked for a big retail company for 2 years, doing low credit score FHA stuff with very, very high rates. We were selling some really bad stuff. And I got out of that because one day at church, I'm sitting there and I looked at the lady next to me and I realized what a really bad deal I was giving her. And I had to look at her every Sunday. And every Sunday I'd feel horrible because I knew that she could have gone to the local credit union and gotten 1% less than what I gave her. And it was the worst feeling in the world. I said, okay, this sucks. I have to get out of this company. And at the time, a guy named Michael Fisher was recruiting me. Michael has a group called MMBC. He's a big VA guy up in Michigan, over in Detroit. And so I worked for him for a year or so. And then COVID hits. And when COVID hit, all of a sudden they raised their minimum scores. Everything went crazy. And my pipeline completely crashed because they had a minimum score of 660, which for me was really bad because I had a lot of lower credit score VA stuff. So I left there and became a broker. Within 3 months, all of a sudden I started hitting 5-figure checks. And I was like, okay, wow, this is a lot better than where I was. And so I got in the broker space and then came to Edge 2 years ago. I loved Evan when I was at Epic, but Evan was only in a few states and I wanted to become more multi-state focused and be able to expand my business. And so I came to Edge in 23. It was right after Hall of Fame, believe it or not. You're at Hall of Fame, right, Mark?
Oh, heck yeah. I'm there all the time.
At the Hall of Fame, do you remember the one 23 where they say broker of the year, Edge Home Finance, and all of a sudden all the Edge people rush the stage?
Yeah.
So I went to that event and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Who are these people? Because I didn't really know who Edge was at the time. And they're literally flashing everybody's production at the back of the screen. And I'm like, oh my God, he works here? Oh my gosh, that guy works here? Oh my gosh, this guy works here. And I was like, I got to talk to these people. And at the time, I kept talking to Evan, was trying to get more states, and Evan didn't want to do it. And I called up Andy Trino at Edge and I was like, give me the scoop. And it took me literally 30 seconds to be like, okay, this is where I need to be. This is the fit for me. And I just took off with it from there. And so I started using the internet skill set, which I know we want to dig into a little more, to get leads. Because, when rates started creeping up, because before I was like, okay, I can do realtors, I can do all that stuff. But then when rates started creeping up, I was like, okay, this is not good. I need to find a new source of business. And I started perfecting this internet model of, okay, how do I get more people to call me? How do I not have to rely on the realtors for every deal? Will I take a realtor referral? Of course. Don't we all want them? But I'm not going to cry if a realtor doesn't call me. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, realtors haven't called me this week, because I have leads coming in 24/7. I will called some more this morning right before this call.
Well, we're gonna hop more into that. I promise you that. And Andy Trano is one of the best out there.
Yes.
Just to kind of give him a little shout out here. So, okay. So this is how I feel. Okay, and you can tell me I'm wrong, I'm right. Doesn't matter. Is that a lot of people don't like being on camera, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned over my years at AIM, it's just like, just be yourself. That's who you are. It is what it is. But you have transformed that in a lot of different things into SEO and YouTube.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So you have these leads coming in every day. And I know a lot of people, I was just at UWM Live with you, of course. And, people were talking to me about, how do you buy leads? Like, what's the best way to do it? And I don't buy them, right? Like, that's just not in my wheelhouse there. But you have these leads coming in through YouTube, through SEO. How did you, this could go on for a long time, and I know it could, which is great. But how did you get into that? And how did you perfect it the way you are right now?
How I got into it was trial and error, but because I already knew how to build a website, because I had this skill set, I built my Scarpero.com is my website, and I built that thing in 2017 when I first got in the business. It was literally the first thing I did before I even got licensed. Like, from the time that I was testing to get my license, I was building a website, and literally the day they approved my license, I had the website up and running. So I mean, it's been a long but I knew how to do it. So it's not like I had to go hire somebody. I already knew how to do it, so it wasn't a big deal. And as far as doing it, it was just one of those things where I tried different things. I took different trainings. And what I realized was that you need to specialize in something. You got to be well known for one particular thing. And for me, it became VA, and specifically low credit score VA, which is like the turn downs. Because as we know, as brokers, we have this advantage. We don't have minimum credit scores. We don't have overlays. We've got, you can hit the gray zone and find that borrower that one lender doesn't like, but another lender does. It's a huge advantage we have as brokers that we're not taking advantage of. As a huge broker shop, Edge is with 150 lenders. We're approved with pretty much everybody. A lot of those gray zone deals, it's one of those where I'll send it to 4 or 5 companies to be like, okay, do you like it? And I only need one to say yes, right? I don't need all 5 to say yes. I just need one. And so I will get the deal and send it to some AEs and say, what do you think? But you have to know guidelines too. But the other thing is I'm part of Vetted VA, which I've not mentioned. Shout out to Chris and the team over there at Vetted VA that do a very, very good job. I recommend them. And so I know guidelines very well because I've been taking their trainings. I've been on all their calls. I'm on their, Facebook every week. And so because of that, I know a lot of weird guidelines, and that makes me better and stronger at that particular thing. And so what happens is I have a situation come in, I get it approved. Oftentimes I might learn something new in the process. And then when I learn something new, that's another video, right? So like I had one the other day, she had 2 part-time jobs. She works in the mental health field, and she's like a psychologist type person and a veteran. And she, with the 2 part-time jobs, they're exactly 20 hours each. Well, the traditional way of thinking is, well, you need a 2-year history on that, right? That's what everybody says. Right. And I was like, wait a minute. Well, I decided to challenge this thinking, because I'm like, wait a minute. The reason that you need that 2-year history is because of the burnout factor, that she potentially get burned out. But it was exactly 20 each. That's 40 hours total. I was like, wait a minute. She works the same 40 hours as everybody else, but she's not, she just has 2 paychecks, right? It's nothing different. It's just 2 paychecks instead of 1. And I said, why can you not approve that? And so the other thing I do is I subscribe to Mortgage Currency, or I think Mortgage Guidelines, I think they call it now, which I believe is also a name partner. Well worth it. That $47. Oh my God, I made so much money on that $47 per month. Get that. So what I do is I'll send that over to them, and I was like, hey, here's my scenario. They have 2 part-time jobs. Show me in the VA handbook where they cannot have 2 part-time jobs. And she said, oh, that's not a guideline. That's just a generally accepted rule. I was like, aha, that's interesting. So I emailed a bunch of AEs and said, hey, okay, I have this from Mortgage Currency saying if the 2 part-time jobs are stable income and hourly or salary, which they were, would you accept this? I sent that to like 20 people. 99.9% said no. But again, I only need one to say yes, right?
Right.
And sure enough, Ms. Mitchell said, yeah, if you can show that these are stable employment, that is guaranteed income, we can count that. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. That's something new, right? Oh my God, that's a new YouTube topic. So I go into YouTube, just threw on this camera, threw on this microphone, threw together a video. It took me maybe 10, 15 minutes. And put that on my website. And sure enough, within 2 days, I think a day or two, it's ranking number 1 on Google for that phrase. It's ranking in Perplexity and ChatGPT and all those things for that stuff. And yeah, I got cited on Google's little overview. And then the other thing I do is I turn that into a blog post. There's a site called video-to-blog.ai. Oh my gosh, I love this site. I found it the other day. And what you do is you put a YouTube link in there, you press a little button, and it'll make a SEO optimized blog post through AI from your transcript. It'll basically take the transcript, make the AI, and you can edit it. And it's kind of like, it'll give you a starting point, and you can prompt it to like how long you want the article, if you want like fat FAQs. Oh my gosh. And those things will rank. And so I take it, put it in there, copy and paste that into my blog. And so now I have a blog post and a video on the same topic. So now I have 2 chances to get Google to rank me. And yeah, those things will rank. I mean, but you have to look at the competition too. I mean, if it's, if there's 100 articles on that topic, it might not rank, but I start to look at really, really specialized keywords where I know that people are searching for this, but there's not a lot of competition. And that's the key on this stuff. If you're, like I have another blog post, something like what to do. Oh, what is it? What to do if you have bad credit and getting a VA loan. But the problem with that is too general. And like every single major company has a blog post on that topic. And I'm on like page 4. I cannot get that thing to rank for nothing. So what I figured out is, okay, get deeper into the topic and get deeper into the Q&A, and I'll rank for some weird phrase, and that's fine. I don't need 100 calls off that YouTube video. I'm just trying to get 1.
Right. So, okay, you threw a lot at me right there, and I absolutely love it. Love it. So
I try.
Yeah. So basically, like, because we all have these topics, right? Like you can Google stuff and it goes into it. So what you're doing is you're just diving deeper into it and probably getting a little bit more personal or a little bit more niche-y, right?
Yes.
Where people can look that phrase up or SEO, and then that's how you pop up, correct?
Yeah. So, and it's question-based topics, and that was the other key. Well, a few keys. So I took this guy, Sean Cannell. He has, just Google him. He's everywhere. Sean Cannell's a YouTube guy, and I took his class, and he has this training where he basically says answer specific question. ASQ is what he calls it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm answering specific questions. And the deeper the question and the longer the question is called long tail keywords. The longer the question and the more specific it is, the more likely there's not going to be anybody else talking about it, and the more likely you will be to rank. If there's 100 topics, because it's all a competition. Right. If it's you versus 100 other articles on that same topic and that same phrase, well, then you're more likely to be on page 5. But it's you and one other person, and especially if your video is better and your content's better, then much more likely to get ranked.
Interesting. So how much content do you post? Like per week, per month? Is it
not
daily?
A goal. It's more when Carlos has free time. It's really just it's a matter of, okay, when do I have time on my schedule to do this? If it's kind of a slow week and I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have that many leads coming in right now, I might do 3 or 4 videos. Right now, I'm still catching up from the weekend. So today it's more just making sure that everybody that has called me over the past week is, properly followed up with, and we got everybody qualified. So it's not I probably should have a better schedule, but I don't. It's pretty much, okay, I've got free time. And do I have a topic? Different times I'm more inspired than others. I do try to keep my brain attuned to having a topic, but that's the other thing, struck while the iron's hot. When something hits my brain and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to talk about this, I might not even really plan to do it and just run and do it. And that's the thing. Don't pause and think about it. The sooner it's on your mind, the sooner, because you have that emotion, right? You have that creative spark in you. And so as soon as I have the topic, if I have 10 minutes, I might be like, oh man, this was amazing, amazing information. I need to do this today. Or something gets me really pissed off and gets me ready to go. So like, for example, there was a situation, and I think this hit the AIM group. I don't know if you remember this, Mark, where there was a situation where a big mortgage company had put out some really, really bad VA info. And all the VA people got really pissed. And basically it was a situation where they were talking about student loans, or I'm sorry, student, what's it called? Oh, like the work people, like the, what is it? Work study. The VA, geez, what is it? The GI Bill is what I'm trying to think. I can't think today. Sorry.
You're fine. You're good. You're good.
So there was a blog post where basically this big, major lender had said that you could use GI Bill funds for qualifying income. Well, anybody who knows anything about VA loans with any knowledge at all knows that's BS. You cannot use GI Bill funds. And so there was this whole like conversation about a VA. Oh my God, I can't believe they posted this, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's all mad about it. And I was like, you know what? You can't control them, right? You can only control yourself. And I said, you know what? The best way to bury them, there's the old SEO joke, what's the best way to hide a dead body on page 2 of Google? And I basically said, okay, well, here's the way to fix this. We all create some content and push the content down. Nobody else will do it. They're too busy complaining. I was like, well, screw it. If you guys aren't going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I went and created a blog post. And created a video where I streamed out a screenshot of the VA guidelines in the handbook where it said it, read the guidelines, and explained why you cannot use this income and why that blog post was wrong. Put that up, and then I went in my video to AI thing, created the post, and sure enough, now my post was ranked in the AI overview in Google, and the blog post is also ranked, I think, 5 on Google. And the post in question got pushed to page 2 because Google figured out the post stuck, and Google pushed the thing to the bottom of page 2. So that's just one example of just the ability and the power of video. And so a lot of my opportunity is, if I see something in Google that's wrong, or especially if the AI overview is wrong, if I'm looking at Google and I look up a VA guideline and that guideline's wrong or misleading, I'm going to make a video about it because I'm trying to push them off of page 1. And it's not even oh my gosh, I have to get 20 leads off of it. Sometimes it's more of, what, I as a good loan officer had the obligation to make sure the correct info is out there. Right. If I get a deal from it, fine. And that's a bonus, but that's not the goal. The goal is, just to make sure the search results are clean, because unfortunately the big companies, they hire these bloggers. They don't hire loan officers to blog their stuff. They hire these SEO guys and these, social media guys to create their content. And so as advantages of licensed loan officers that know that the hell we're talking about, we have the advantage because we can actually create good content that's accurate. And Google wants accurate.
You're blowing my mind right now. I absolutely love
thank
it.
You.
So when
it's really, really big is loan limit type stuff. What is the max VA loan limit in Ohio? Up until I started pushing it, it kept saying 865 or 8, whatever the Fannie Mae limit. As we know, that's not true. VA has no loan limit. And so I'll do the other one. I started pushing out. Okay, let's create a blog post. What is the max VA loan limit in Ohio? And I created a blog post and start talking about that. Boom, push that one off page 1. That kind of stuff. It's just using common sense and looking at, okay, what ticks me off about Google search results and how can I knock them out of that page? And the more often I do that, the more often I get called. And then, ChatGPT and all these sites, they pull the same result as Google. Those sites, they're using question-based content. And the more you have Q&A-based content, the more those things will pick you up. Because 99% of the time when somebody goes in ChatGPT or Perplexity or one of these sites, they're asking a question. Typically, it's a long question. I'm a veteran and I live in Texas and I have a 545 credit score. Can I get a loan? It's typically something that long. And creating situational type posts and situational type videos will get ranked.
Okay, so wow, my mind is spinning right now, which is a good thing. Okay, so When you get pissed off or you get amped up about a topic and you want to do a video about it, and this is what I think the audience, our lovely brokers and people that are going to come from retail over to us, like, I think sometimes people think too much about it. How much time do you put into it, like trying to create a post? Or is it just heat of the moment and you get your facts real fast and then go? Or do you really try to map it out?
Um, I'll map it up a little bit. I also have 13 years of Toastmasters experience, so I can create content pretty quickly because I have enough public speaking knowledge to be able to roll with it on video, which is a huge advantage for me. I will outline it to have kind of my bullet points just to kind of make sure that I'm not rambly. I use StreamYard, which is what we're using on this thing. StreamYard has a really cool banner feature. I don't know if you ever use that, Mark. It's really cool because you can create banners in StreamYard, and I'll use that as my bullet point. I did
not know
outline. That. You've never used banners? Oh my God, they're awesome. Yeah, so a lot of people use PowerPoint too, but I think the banners are quicker, and also I like that the banner, it keeps me on camera, it keeps me as the focus. So basically, I'll outline my top bullet points of the topic. I'll create banners, and the research I'll do is it's more just making sure my content's accurate. So I might go in the VA handbook, I might go ask somebody, hey, we have this talk, but typically, because I've already researched the topic anyway, because oftentimes it's something I was just discussing that morning anyway. But yeah, sometimes I might be like, okay, I know I want to talk about this, but I want to make sure I'm 100% accurate. So yeah, I might go in the VA handbook and be like, okay, what do I need to know about this topic, and what is the accurate guideline? And if the VA handbook has, something specific, I might screenshot it. And also, because Google likes to know that you're not BSing. Google likes to know that, oh, Carlos actually had something from the handbook. And so I might be like, okay, here's the guideline, blah, 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 blah. Here's where it says in the handbook. And I'll even say, this is chapter 4, page 15. I'll like cite the exact page. And I'll say, this is chapter 4, section 15, paragraph 3. I'll pop that on the screen, and I will literally read it on camera. Word for, even though they can see it, I'll read it word for, and Google likes that because I can be like, oh yeah, okay. And because Google knows, oh, okay, this guy's citing references. I'm not just BSing. I'm not just making up, because my competition just throwing stuff out there. I'll be like, chapter 4, section 5 of the VA handbook says blah, 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 blah. And then I'll pop off a camera, and then I'll like translate it to English. Okay, now this is what this means. This is the way underwriters see this. This is where lender overlays come in. And then as a broker, our big advantage as brokers is we can get around lender overlays, right? Because there's that gray zone and there's underwriter guidelines. And I'll be like, okay, here's what the VA handbook says on this topic. Now, here's how the way the underwriter is going to see this. Here's what you need to do, Mr. or Mrs. Borrower, to qualify based on that. And I'll kind of use that to push that through. And Google likes that because they're like, okay, he's citing the handbook. He's not just making up stuff. Right. And because Google can read all that. And they're like, okay, this guy actually... And oftentimes, on the post itself, I'll backlink directly to that because Google likes that too. When I create that blog post in that AI tool, I'll find where I said VA handbook chapter 4, and then I'll actually create a physical link to the VA handbook. Again, Google likes that because you're citing your sources, and they like that you're citing your sources. You're not just blabbing something, and they like that. And that typically those kind of posts are more likely to get ranked and more likely to get picked up in the AI. Because the AI and the Google, I mean, it's SEO is
hand
SEO.
in hand.
I mean,
it's hand in hand, isn't it?
I'm sorry, what?
It's hand in hand, isn't it?
It's hand in hand. Yeah. Typically, if I see something that's going to rank in Perplexity, I use Perplexity as my AI tool. I mean, each tool, they're very similar. I use Perplexity, but yeah, I mean, if I see something that's ranked in Perplexity as a source, typically it's something that's on page 1 of Google as well. They're very, very similar. And so okay. I don't really be like, oh, I'm doing this kind of, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to do this kind of SEO for Perplexity or this kind of SEO for Google. I just pretty much, SEO is SEO. It's really, these days it's really answering the questions. I really like question-based topics. The more it can be question-based, easier it is to rank. The other kind of topics I like to do is local area plus keyword. So bad credit loans, Ohio, bad credit loans, Kentucky, bad credit loans, Indiana, like that type of stuff. And that's just, and I have a page on my website where basically like, it's not on my blog. It's basically like on page 10, where basically I say, if you have bad credit and you need a VA loan, I'm the guy that can help. I'm licensed in Kentucky, Indiana. I list all my states. I'm licensed in 33 states. And then each link goes to that page that is SEO'd for that topic. And those things will rank because, the big companies, they're not getting that deep because, these keyword tools, they won't show that stuff up, because, on paper, it looks like there's no traffic, but there is traffic. And I don't need 100 visits a day for that topic. I'll take 2 visits a month if they call me, right? If I have 33 pages on one topic, who cares? Who cares how much traffic that one page gets? But the big companies aren't seeing that because it's so under the radar that the SEO tools will not show that traffic, which is kind of cool. So I have pages ranking for bad credit, Ohio, bad credit. I do a lot with VA Reno too. VA Reno, Ohio, VA Reno, Kentucky, VA Reno, Indiana, like that kind of stuff. And so pages ranking for that kind of thing, and those do pretty well as well.
So that it brings up my next point, which is like, I think, and I'm speaking for a lot of the broker community here, and hopefully I'm not overstepping my boundaries, which is, I think a lot of people want these million hits, these hundreds of thousands of hits. You're not doing that. This is a long-term game for you. Right. And like, how do you stay motivated with that? Like, I'm sure, with trial and error, as you said, that you've failed or you didn't get the calls you wanted at times. How do you just stay motivated to say, hey, I'm just going to keep going, spreading my word and spreading my knowledge and keep going?
Yeah, interesting you said that. I was watching a movie this weekend of a Christian singer named Jeremy Camp. And so in the movie, Jeremy was talking to like this famous singer, and the singer said, Jeremy was saying something like, how do I stay motivated if I'm not famous yet? I'm not making any money at this. And the guy basically, the famous guy basically said back to Jeremy, well, if you can help just one person, if you can make one person's day, that makes it all worthwhile. And that's how I think of it with my content. I'm just helping that one person. If I can help one person get into a house, if I can help one veteran that's been turned down by the big online lender get approved by somebody, whether it's me or not me, that makes it all worthwhile. And that's the way I think of it. I don't think of it as, oh my gosh, I made 25 videos this week and nobody's called me. I don't think of it that way. I just keep going. And the more you can think of it as just service and letting go of the results, the easier it gets. But you have to be passionate about the topic, and you can't go into VA or any space thinking, oh, I'm here just because there's big money in it. You have to be passionate about helping that particular audience.
Authentic. You gotta be authentic.
I'm sorry, what?
You got to be authentic about
you have to be authentic,
right?
Yeah, and it becomes authentic too, because they're like, oh wow, he's here to help me. It's funny because I'm married to a social worker, and one of my veterans had mentioned, oh wow, it's interesting. You just had this social worker mindset. And I was like, I don't know how to think about that, but I do. Because especially when you're going after the low credit score VA stuff, you have to have, it's a very emotional type of transaction because oftentimes they've gone through some stuff and you have to go through it without a non-judgmental attitude that, you know what, everybody deserves a second chance. I'm going to try to give it to them best I can through the guidelines. I'll use the handbook the best I can. They have to do their part too, but I'm not going to judge them based on whatever the hell happened 5 years ago. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. It's not a yes or no today. It's a not yet. They might not qualify today, but it's always a not yet. You're just because every veteran is 1 year away from qualifying because really there's that 1 year look back period for 99% of the deals. So I'm like, okay, it's a not yet. Okay, fine. Go to my credit guy and let's talk in here. And so when I come through that attitude, it makes it so much easier because it's like, okay, I'm just here to serve. I'm here to help them. I'm here to guide them on that path to homeownership.
That's okay. So I got 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
And obviously you're very busy. You probably got to go make some videos about something you're passionate about. But
at
the same. So first one, do you ever worry about compliance? Like someone coming back on you and saying that was not compliant what you said?
Every so often something comes back inaccurate. I'm not, I do my best, especially like rate type questions. I will put a big disclaimer. The other thing that Streamline lets you do is they let you do this little banner on those little scrolling banners. So oftentimes if I'm giving a rate specific discussion, I will put, this is not an offer to lend, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure my corporate office sees my stuff, and so far nobody has said anything is not compliant. I will check every so often I might make a video and I'll be like, oh man, was that accurate? And I've had a couple of times where it was some waiting period or something, and I made the video and I was like, oh my gosh, I said this. was that accurate? Yeah, because my big thing is I want to be accurate.
Right.
To me, that's the most important part of the videos. Whatever I say has to be accurate. And every so often I might look in the video handbook, I'm like, oh man, I screwed it up. Okay, delete. From a compliance standpoint, not really. I mean, luckily, I do compliance stuff.
So it's really, I think what it comes down to you, Carlos, is that you like you do research on it, you put links, you have sources, you're leading them down the right direction. You're not just talking BS here the entire time.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's kind of where it goes. Like, I think if you put your best due diligence forward, you're probably pretty good. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, for sure.
So my last question for you is, there's a lot of people out there that are scared to do what you're doing. Okay. There's a
Sure.
lot of people scared to even get on a podcast, even though they have a ton of information but they're scared, they're this, they're that. What would be your number one tip / advice to people that want to do something like this, that know it's going to help their business, but kind of scared to get on video or even do a blog, as you say? What's your number one tip to them?
Yeah, well, they're making it about them. And it's funny because one of my friends was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so scared to be on camera," and she's a single mom, and I basically told her, imagine a single mom right now should be buying a house, but because she didn't get the information from you, she's not buying that house. She's sitting there with her 595 credit score and scared to buy that house. Think about it. And she's like, almost like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, this is what it's about. You are helping people and you are literally impacting lives, but you can't impact that live if you don't turn the camera on. And when you think about it, like from that perspective, everything else goes away. Are people going to say negative stuff? Of course. Are people going to make stupid comments? Of course. You just roll it off. It's a part of the business. I don't let that stuff affect me. And if you read my channel, there's all kinds of people saying crazy stuff, and that's all part of it. But yeah, you just gotta get over that fear and just do it.
I love it. It's it's so simple. It's so simple that, like, I think our fears get in the way of us actually trying to really do what we're trying to do, which is help people. And the way you put that is, you're a single mom with a 595 credit score, 585 credit score. Like, share your experience. Let's just go. Like, this is what it is. I think that relates to people so much more. And I also love the fact that you're not trying to, be a million subscriber person on YouTube. You're just trying to help one person.
Exactly.
And that's all it's about.
Yeah. And if you just think of it from that perspective, it makes it so much easier. And yeah, people give up. Yeah, oftentimes people will give up too easily because they're like, oh my gosh, I made 5 videos and nobody called me. Okay. Well, first of all, were the videos any good? Were they researched, the SEO'd, or did you just make 5 random topics?
Right. Just make a video and go on. Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean that's where the
technology stuff for action, but still.
Yeah, but that's where this conversation right here helps people, like learning the SEO side of things. You have good content, but maybe you're not doing the SEO side of things. So,
right.
Yeah. So, Carlos, listen, this was a riot. I'm sorry. This was a lot of fun. I'm so glad I got to see you last week. I appreciate your time and just want to thank you for spending time with us today.
Oh yeah, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. So, brokers, if you want to get caught up on all of our past podcast episodes, as well as other AIM Network podcasts, please head over to aimgroup.com/broker to broker. You can also listen and watch all AIM Network podcast episodes on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Anywhere basically we can download a podcast. If you're on YouTube, we're doing more and more YouTube, and this is a perfect time to segue this in with Carlos saying, go to YouTube, right? Basically, you can get everything at the tagline is at AIM National for more great wholesale content. Everyone, please rate our podcast, leave a review, let us know how we're doing. It helps us spread the word and proving to the world that brokers are best. And Carlos, you're obviously one of them. You're at all the events. You're like a mainstay in the broker community now. So I absolutely love that. Every event I'm at, I see you, and it's just a quick hello, hey, how are you doing? And then move along. But you're the best, dude. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for the invite.
All right, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode.